All right, welcome everybody. We are starting our sort of experimental session here in room 3, session 5. This is called Lightning Presentations. And so the idea here is to give our presenters the opportunity to give a very brief 3-minute version or 3-minute talk on whatever they're interested in. Some of our presenters today are presenting on research. Some of them are presenting on something more practical or applied. And so how it'll work is that each person has a 3-minute slot allocated to them. I will try to give a warning to everybody, to each individual presenter at around the 2-minute mark. I will do that via the chat, but if you would prefer a verbal warning, because maybe then you can't see the chat so easily, just let me know and I'll give it to you verbally. And so then you'll have 1 minute left. At the 3-minute mark, we will then have a 2-minute setup break to allow the current presenter to finish presenting and to allow the next presenter to set up and start. So essentially it's a 5-minute slot per person. Because of the abbreviated time that everybody has, we will save all questions for everybody until the end of this session. And so we have 3 presenters today, so it should take roughly 15 minutes total. And so after those 15 minutes, including the break times, after those 15 minutes, then we will have that sort of mass Q&A, and you can ask people, you can ask any of the presenters any questions that you guys may have had. Are those rules, or is that setup kind of clear? Is there anything that you guys would like to ask before we start in a couple of minutes with our first presenter? Excellent. Just like in my classes, I will take a lack of communication as everything is okay. That's what I will do. You can see in our conference program the names of the presenters. I have just updated our conference program because there was a hilarious typo for one of our presenters who I've already apologized to and apologize again to for misspelling their name. But our 3 presenters are in order and behind me or above me, depending on how you look at it, George MacLean, then will be Jesse Reidak, and then will be Theodore Florin Zanoaga. If I've terribly mispronounced your name, I apologize again, but I'm sure you guys will give us a little bit of time to hear the correct pronunciation of your names. So for right now, I guess we will just wait another 3 minutes. That way the time syncs up a little bit better, and it'll make it easier for future presenters to know when they should be getting ready to go. So just give us a small break until we start at 45 minutes after. So we still have around 2.5 more minutes. If you want to, George, you can also start setting up, though I think you have most of that already in place.
Thanks, Max. I'm going to put the procedure on here. Actually, I'll put the whole presentation in the chat just so that you guys have a bit of a chance to digest some of this, because there's a lot there.
We're also seeing
I'm cheating to a certain extent, I suppose, because I just posted a link. Pardon me?
We're seeing your presenter view instead of the slideshow view.
Oh, blast. Sorry. Okay. If you look in the chat, thank you, Max. See, this is good that I'm doing it like this. Okay. Can you see the presentation view now?
Yeah, now we see the presentation view. Yes.
All right. And there's a link in the chat to the presentation for people that want to read the procedure. I'm not going to have a lot of time for that. So, as you know, with 3 minutes.
Okay. So do you want your warning at the 2-minute mark to come via the chat, or do you want it to come? Okay, but not verbally. Okay.
Verbally.
Oh, verbally. Okay.
Right, verbally, yes.
Okay. Then just you have a few more seconds, George, before you can start.
Count me down from 5.
Well, I have my stopwatch enabled, so I won't do that, but I'll let you know. Right?
Okay.
Let you know as soon as it changes. And I'll still be here. I'll just have this here so people can see the abstracts sort of instead of my face while you present. I will also turn it into speaker mode. So hopefully you will be highlighted on my screen when you are presenting. All right, George, I think you are free to start anytime, and I will, as soon as you say a sound, I will start your timer.
Can we confirm, George, you're not showing your face? Or was that planned?
We also can't hear you, George, if you're talking.
excuse me, yeah. You should be able to see my face. And
Now,
Present.
yes. Perfect.
presentation, but what's going on?
Oh,
It just
wow.
went blank.
Yeah, now we
Oh.
see your
Oh.
file explorer.
Yes.
Okay, hang on. I'll go
There it is.
out.
It's okay. Now it's okay.
All right. Can I start?
Yes, start.
Thank you. What is feedback? What's the purpose of feedback? Learning. But there's another purpose, which is making sure students know that you care and that you're there. Is it on the test is often a question. So to get through all of these things, I've put in the chat a procedure that I use for spreadsheets. I'm going to leave it to you to read it because I'd rather get into it. I will mention, though, that I'm going to be discussing examples of feedback delivered through chat, 17 and a half minutes, 14 students. They all got feedback. And I'd also like to thank JSPS for the 2 research grants that are part of this practically oriented proposal. So without further ado, let's get to an example. Pardon me. Here we go. Okay, so here is a spreadsheet. It's a spreadsheet of a group discussion. In the spreadsheet, the very first tab is groups. And what students do, what I ask students to do, is to get in there and write their names. I assign them according to their breakout rooms. So they write their names. Once they write their names, it becomes available in the other tabs because it's linked. That's one of the things you can do with spreadsheets. I have here common discussion, which I'll discuss more later, and then group discussion, which is the central focus of the class where students have to actually document what they're thinking, what they've discussed with their students, with each other. And for all of this, in row 1, students' names appear. So they're able to get a score, and you'll see the score is down below from row 9. And so I go in and give them a score immediately after. The scoring is also here. I copy and paste the score into a dynamic posted grades sheet.
1 minute.
Okay, so here we go. Last. So imagine students put their names in, right? We have a common discussion where they're just in the rooms. I give them 10 minutes or so to discuss a question like, okay, can you use the grammatical term I used to? Or how do I say something? My feedback is in gold at the bottom all the time. In the common discussion, we actually talk and everybody has to speak. We speak, and you can see in the chat, they each have to share one of their expressions, and I give them feedback either about the pronunciation or the grammar of it. Same thing in the how do I say section. When we get to the group discussions, they have to document what they're saying. There's feedback down below. Sometimes it's concurrent, sometimes it's afterwards. There's a score. There's a room for absent students. And as I said, there's a scoring tab. As far as group discussions go, also I involve peer and self-evaluation, which looks like this. I'll share it in the chat afterwards. Done?
Done. Want to
Okay.
finish up very quickly?
Yeah, it works. It works very, very well. Thank you, guys. And I look forward to your questions afterwards.
All right. Thank you very much.
Awesome.
Thank you very much, George. We will have a brief setup time for about 1.5 minutes, and then we will go on with our second presenter, who is Jesse Reidak. Jesse, can you try sharing and see if your screen works? Everything works okay?
Sure. Give me one quick sec.
Mhm.
There we go.
All right, are you ready? Yep. Start anytime you're ready.
Okay. All right, hello. So today I'm presenting on motivating students on how they can kind of use SDGs in the classroom and in their lives. So a little bit about me. I've been in Japan for about 13 years now. I'm teaching at an international elementary school. And the motivation behind this presentation is just to get the students a little bit more involved with things outside of the classroom, instead of always focusing just on class content. So as probably everyone knows, the United Nations introduced these 17 SDGs, and a lot of them are quite wordy, even in English. So it's a little bit difficult for young learners to wrap their heads around these things. The intended endpoint, of course, is 2030, the UN has declared. And the Ministry of Education, Japan's Ministry of Education, has asked the homeroom teachers and English teachers too, to kind of as seamlessly as possible integrate all these SDGs into classes, which is it's a tall order. So why change SDGs into what I've dubbed as SRGs, sustainability related goals? And that's just to get the kids a little bit more relaxed with these very big concepts such as this, is just to kind of simplify them down. So how do we get there? So step one is to prime students with a SDG icebreaker. Just bring some kind of sustainability related products and different things into the classroom, eco bags or pet bottles, things like this. Get the students into pairs of groups, kind of TBLT style lesson, and get the kids brainstorming and sharing what their families do or what they do in their daily lives outside of the classroom, particularly. So brainstorming helps because it allows the students to personalize meaning rather than just having teachers just kind of blast them with what they want them to learn. And so instead of the UN dictating, students are jointly creating. And students can also, I find a lot of times the students are able to teach each other about new SDG ideas. You see little lights switching on in their heads when they share ideas about what their families are doing. A moment. So some of these sustainability related goals is just turning taps off while students are brushing their teeth, using an eco bag when they go to the supermarket. And to obtain this result, you want to use a pre-task, task, post-task sequence. So pre-tasks such as brainstorming allows the students to develop their own unique ideas. The tasks allow students to solidify and elaborate upon the ideas, and the post-task helps students stay focused until task completion. You can read more if you want to screenshot and get this article. It's a good one. Examples of SRG tasks would be skits, working towards skits in an ESL classroom, or posters in an EFL classroom. I have this one last slide and then I'm finished. We want to really make sure that we're creating action steps that lead to goals, not just feeling states, not just having the students talk about things they'd like to do, but actually how they're going to obtain these goals. So create concrete actionable steps and discussing with students what SRG success looks like in their own lives and in their own family lives. So I'll wrap up there. Let's make a happy planet together with our students. Finished.
Thank you very much, Jesse. All right, we have another minute and a half for our next and final lightning presenter before we have our Q&A session. So Theodore, if you are here, and is he here? He was here. Is he gone? We'll give him a little bit of time to see if he comes back online. He was here earlier.
And just in case, he did send a video if you want to show a clip of that, if he doesn't show up.
I think the video was 6 minutes, so it would go against the rules, but I'll think about it. These rules that I've arbitrarily made.
I'd just like to say, Jesse, that was really inspiring. And yeah, the group discussion, if we get to chat a little bit more afterwards, was about SDGs, the group discussion that I used as the example. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah, it's a good opportunity to get our learners just thinking about things outside of the classroom, because lots of times, especially with the English lessons and English themes and things, it's all very insular. So it's nice when you can have language learning goals and you can incorporate kind of let the students kind of bring what they're doing at home or what they're doing in a society and bring it into class and to share it with each other.
Yeah,
It gives
yeah.
them a real impetus towards, they almost forget they're using their L2. You know, it's like you're turning a tap on, so to speak.
It's absolutely, you know, and really the tap goes on. It's crazy. But at the same time, in online education, there's a real danger that it basically you know, descends into them just talking about what they had for breakfast and stuff like that. If you put them in breakout rooms and ask them to talk on their own. So that's why I put together the sheets, you know, because I find that they know, and then they have a task. I mean, they have to speak, but they also have to document that with writing what they're doing. And it's like about time on task. And
Oh
that,
yeah, 100%. And like we've been, I'm in an ESL setting, so they've really been working diligently at creating some real nice skits with lots of multimedia. So having that post task where, you know, yeah, of course, it's not just discussion based, but they're, you know, you're giving them the tools and you're slowly working towards something that they have to bring back to the group really helps them focused. 100%.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. So these discussions, everything that I do with these, I have classes that are they're called academic presentation. They're preparing students to prepare their thesis or to present their thesis. So it basically, yeah, this is the warm up. Actually, it's a full class, but it's a warm up where they kind of develop their ideas, they brainstorm with each other, and then their homework is to put their presentation together. And the following week is like presentations. But you know, I mean, it's if they can talk to each other and know that that the teacher is still there, regardless, you know, if it's online or face to face, he's there or she's there. They care. They're going to try and they're going to look at it critically and give them feedback. I think that that's a really important component to maximize students' potential.
Yeah, 100% agree with you. Definitely.
What international school are you at?
I'm teaching at Sabo.
Sabo. That's in Tokyo?
In Kyoto.
In Kyoto, pardon me. I missed that part. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there's many
Yeah.
private elementary schools in Kyoto clustered around. Yeah.
Yeah, I used to teach at St. Mary's. But it was a small school.
We're missing our third presenter, which is fine, because I think it just gives us a little bit more time to discuss our two wonderful brief presentations in more detail. So anybody who has any questions or any discussions you guys want to continue, now is a great time. We can just move straight into that.
Could I make a comment to start with?
Yeah.
I think that I like this format and what could be done with it. Maybe, I don't know whether the timing is right, but you know, 5 minutes maximum, and then have sub breakout rooms from there, where it's like, okay, that was pretty interesting. I want to go there. I want to learn more about that. It's tough for the presenters. Like, I mean, in this situation, like, goodness, you know, I want to talk to Jesse. So, you know, having maybe also like a kind of a group thing, and then from there going into sub breakout rooms would be really cool.
I think it's nice that we can, if we do these sort of brief presentations with a small number of presenters, like today we've only had 2, but we were originally supposed to have 3, because you guys can have a discussion. You're having a discussion right now, and I think it totally fits in well with the theme of this session. So I think
they are like, our presentations are like this. They're like, they're so interlocked. That's really cool. Pardon me though, I'm talking too much. So
I'm wondering, it there's about 10 people in this room. I'm curious to know if it's just George and I who have been working on these kind of SDG concepts, or if anyone else has been trying to incorporate them into their classes, and if so, how?
Can I? It's not answering to your question, Jesse, but I just want to make a comment first that I was so amazed because both speakers spoke just at natural speed and like a well-paced and so calm. And yeah, that was unexpected. And thank you very much for your presentations. Just just the format of the presentation was amazing. And the contents were, now to answer your question, I have been trying to incorporate SDGs, but I haven't because, as you said, it's kind of overwhelming to me, even to the college students, to get those big words. And so I really liked your idea, SRGs, like related and pre-tasks and post-tasks. So yeah, that's something like you lowered the bar for me before to the students. So yeah, and thank you so much.
Yeah, I think that, all these different ministries of education all over the world are really trying to cram in these really big, lofty goals. But even junior high school students, a lot of the concepts, these SDGs, they don't really connect very well. Even in students L1s, they're just totally out of the ballpark. So I think it's good that education ministries are trying to push teachers to squeeze these things in, but there needs to be at least a little bit of a plan, a little bit of a simplification, I think.
Jesse, there's an SDGs game in Japanese and there's an English version of it. I haven't looked at it this year, but they've been updating it regularly, and I'll try to find it and send it to you if you like.
Yes, please. Yeah, definitely.
It's a game, so that kind of just gets that message in with a different angle.
I had my students read the newspaper. I teach Japanese as a foreign language or heritage language, and have them cut out the 17 SDGs and stick them for different articles. If it's about SDGs go number one or 1 and 3 or 5, and they realize that there's so many issues today on goal number 5, or like they realize there's some articles or some news on 2 different goals, and so that they can visualize and they can read newspapers.
If I could speak to that and share my screen, presentation is over, but 2 things. First of all, what you were saying, Jesse, about basically, okay, so, well, getting them the information. So that's a link, and Cody, you were talking about that, right? Like, post a link. So here are the questions. Which is the most important SDG for you? And they're in rooms of 4, but they can't choose the same one. They have to choose different ones, and they have to explain to each other why those are important. And then in the presentation, again, it comes up with multiple SDGs based on that. Share a story, something that relates to you, right? And give some advice. And then, well, in this particular example is like COVID-19, but also they have to track down their references and put references in. So I don't know. I find it's worked pretty well to get them kind of closer to the idea of like, well, they're sharing it with each other, and they're looking at all the goals. And then, for attention to second language learners, I say, okay, I mean, you really shouldn't use Japanese, go with L1, but here's the Japanese version of the site. But the English version of the site is really, really nice for getting them acquainted with the goals. Because all of the goals are here, and they're like, oh yeah, that looks important. If they flip on it, they get a definition and a link to further information. So it's really, really helpful. And I'll put it in the chat and stop talking now.
Yeah, I like how you're allowing the students to kind of go beyond the SDGs and personalize it, because I think that's where kind of the English part of the lesson can come in. Give them the freedom to kind of take it and run with it and see how these things can potentially connect up with their own lives or with their families' lives, or just societally, or things that they can do to help out in the world. And I like also a little bit of the imagination work, especially with young learners, just even allowing them to create their own SRGs, just kind of imaginary SRGs. And yeah, they can really take it, and even the young learners can take it and run with it if you give them the space to do so.
So SRGs are the imaginary ones, or?
Well, I guess like I just, in applied linguistics, it's all about, coining these acronyms. So I think with
Right on.
with university level students, I think you could run with, or adult learners, you could run with SDGs, no problem. But with the young learners, it really needs to be simplified. And I think SDGs and everything that the UN has put forward, it's just too tricky. It's too even in elementary school in Canada or America, you try and throw some of those concepts at the kids, they're just not there yet. So I guess SRGs for me it's a step down. It's just a way for me to mentally delineate, and make it simple. So
Super cool. I was homeroom teacher for grade 1 at one point in time. So yeah, definitely it's you have to have a different approach in that situation. But yeah, and you probably can't use spreadsheets.
Well, if you guys are willing, I think it'd be great if you guys could also share your PPTs so that we can put it on our website in case anybody's interested. If it's okay with you guys. I know sometimes PPTs have some sensitive information you wouldn't really want to share, and that's totally fine as well. But if you'd like to share, you can email us, of course, and we'll try to upload it later at the end of the conference.
If you save the chat, Max, mine is at the top of the chat. And then the other thing, maybe if it's okay, is like we're talking about how to resound with learners, and Jesse's working with younger learners, and there's a different approach, because really, especially by the time students come to national universities, it's been just drummed into their head for too long. Like, is it on the test? And that's the way they look at things. And is the teacher really listening, or are they just making me go through the motions? And that's really unfortunate. So I mean, the sooner that they can get feedback about their results, the better. So my feedback comes in the form of a score, but also, live. It's like, hey, I'm looking at your tab and nothing is happening. Again, that's really easy to do with even a class of 40. You can do that because it's super easy to tab between. It's the shift function, right? So for example, this one, blast, Zoom is sitting on top of everything here, but just let me move it. So with this example, right, I only have 4 rooms here, but I have basically, the shift function up and down will allow you to tab. Shift function control or command will allow you to, is supposed to allow you to tab between rooms. So you could have up to 10 rooms and you can be going back and forth. It could be like really simple feedback, like, okay, write your name properly, excellent work, well done, etc. And you can, while they're doing the work, you can get it to them all at the same time, right? So, some of them, they need to hear things early, like, because they're not doing anything. They're like, oh yeah, put us in a breakout room. And students have been, they're getting used to this. They're getting sly about it. They're like, oh yeah, that means sensei's having a coffee break. But if they know that you're in there and you're giving them feedback, that makes some difference. And then the scoring part of it. So that's in column 1, where I put a score in right away, and I have it here. Students could edit it and change their grade, but I mean, I basically copy it very quickly and I put it in the grade sheet that's available to students online. They can edit it, and it's with secret names. So there's a link for the absent students. So for those that are absent, they don't. And then the other thing, yeah, going back to that, just saying like here, so these names, right? It's so fantastic because you just basically you get them to write their name in that tab after you've chatted them in. And then their name appears automatically here because it's a query. And queries are something I'd love to talk about. I'd like to do a full presentation about them or a workshop at some point in time. But the query allows us to know, allows, you know, their names are appear automatically in whatever you give them thereafter if you put the query in. And then also there's another query here with the scores so that you can get all of that really, really quickly.
So
Technical, but very useful. Yeah.
So our session is officially over now. We've got 4 minutes until the beginning of the next sessions, and all the rooms will be full. So unfortunately, we can't continue the discussion here. But if you guys are interested in continuing the discussion, you can go into any one of our sidebar rooms, which are the bottom 3 breakout rooms that you'll see in the breakout room list. Or of course, you guys are free to talk in the main room as well. But thank you guys very much. I think that was pretty successful. Huh? All right, a round of applause, please, for our 2 presenters.
Thank
Do you
you.
schedule something here in this room after this? I
Yes.
thought this was-
Yeah,
okay.
all three are taken for the session 6.
Okay.
Jesse, sidebar 1 is taken. Do you want to go to sidebar 2 and chat a bit more? Awesome.
Thank you guys very much, and I'll stop the recording.
Thank